Welcome to the channel, friends. So today in the workshop I plan on rejetting my Honda HSS1332ATD. Now by rejetting this to a larger size, it will not only help with the surging and hunting of the motor at full throttle, it will smooth out that throttle response, as well as unleash the full potential from the GX390 motor. Now I'm going to work through my way through each jet size and show you kind of the results I get on my machine. Now today is 19 degrees and I'm at 500 feet above sea level. So those are the conditions, and if this is something that's going to interest you, stay tuned and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, so welcome back, guys. I want to go over what I'm going to be using for tools today to analyze each and every jet as I go along the way. So as you can see here, I have my Honda service manual. I have my 4 jets that I'm going to use and try out. I have a 105, 108, 110, and 112. Those are the part numbers. So I also have this tiny tack. This is a wireless tachometer, which comes in handy when measuring RPM for small engines, chainsaws, anything really. This will measure it. It measures up to 20,000 RPM. Great for chainsaws. So, the final operating speed, according to the service manual for the 1332, is 3,500 plus 0 minus 150 RPM. So, we want to stay in that range. I'm going to turn mine up all the way to 3,500, maybe a little bit more, just to get more impeller speed. But I will be going over more ways to kind of hot rod your Honda along the way. This kind of being the first part of the series. So I guess that's what I'll call it, hot rodding your Honda, because I have about 3-4 different ways that I'm going to improve the performance on my HSS1332. But today we're going to start with the rejetting, which is going to give you the most potential for enhancement when it comes to engine-wise. So as we change the jets, there's going to be a noticeable difference in RPM, so we're going to note that with the tachometer. So that comes in handy, as well as this apparatus right here. Now this is a portable AFR meter, so it's a portable wideband sensor. Now I had to make this adapter because you have to insert this probe. Okay, this is the wideband O2 sensor, not the same as the one that's in your car. Your car has a narrow band. This measures a wide band, so larger spectrum. But anyways, this probe here is an exhaust clamp. Okay, this clamps onto your exhaust pipe, and normally it does not have this tube, which you see here. This is a silicone high temperature tube that I've had to add on. When I was doing my initial testing, I was just putting this probe up to the Honda exhaust, and because it has a spark arrestor, I could not get it to go inside to get a proper reading. So I was getting readings that were all over the place, which did not make any sense. So what I did was I lengthened this with a tube that I can stick in the exhaust, which is not going to melt because this is silicone. And then I had to make this adapter out of tubing that I had laying around, just so I can butt it up against the exhaust and not do any damage. On this end, I have a piece of silicone coupler. So this is not going to melt. I'm going to press this up against the surface of the exhaust so it makes a sealing contact all the way around, and I will get all exhaust gases through the pipe and into the sensor. This works properly. I've already tried doing this on the machine, so I know it's going to work. But I could not get it to run and get a good reading, good stable reading, without doing all this kind of mounting and adapting to the sensor. You have to have the sensor buried deep inside the exhaust stream to get a good, reliable reading. So that works out good, and pretty much this plugs in to the meter. And this will give you an AFR reading right on the screen. So 20.9 means it's calibrated, and then from that point you'll see either greater than 14.7 is lean, or less than 14.7 is rich. So 14.7 is your perfect ratio. It's called stoichiometric. That is just kind of a fancy way of saying perfect ratio. you want to be for pump gas, which is what we use in our machines, 14.7, kind of, plus or minus a tiny bit, plus or minus like 2% or whatever. But it's going to run about 14.7 if it's a properly tuned engine. So it'll be very interesting to see, as I change the jets, what I get for an AFR on the machine, because I don't think anybody has done this. No one even thinks about checking the AFR when you check your jet size. Now, the amount of air coming into the engine is a fixed amount. Now, once you add more fuel, which we're doing here, we're adding more fuel, it's going to change that AFR. Now, it could change the AFR for the better or for the worse. We're going to find out, and I want to find out exactly which jet is the best for my machine and my application here at 500 feet above sea level. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up. I normally keep the machine inside the garage. The garage stays no less than 50 degrees on a really cold day like today, which is 19 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and get the machine ready, and we'll start the process of changing out the main jet. Okay, so this jet here is a 102 jet, just like I was figuring. So let's go ahead now and put in a 105 and see how it does. So here is your emulsion tube. Make sure to put this back in this orientation just like this, and then the jet will sit right on the bottom of it. So let's go ahead and do the 105. As you can see here, this is the Honda part number. Brand new jet from Honda. Now when you put this in, you want to put it in with a narrow tipped slotted screwdriver. It's got to be narrow. It cannot be the tapered wood screw type like your Craftsman and all your other standard screwdrivers. This right here just so happens to fit perfectly, and there's plenty of clearance to allow me to fit this in there. You want parallel sides on your screwdriver tip. You might have to take an old screwdriver and grind it down so it fits perfectly. You do not want to mess with this. This is brass. You want to get a perfect fit in the slot of the jet. That way you don't have any slop. It fits in there nice and tight. And once you put it in there, it's going to have positive contact and give you a good fit on the screwdriver. This will strip very easily if you do not take details in making sure that your screwdriver fits perfectly. It should fit nice and tight. You don't want anything too big or too small because it's not going to do the job right. So this works perfect. Let's go ahead and install the emulsion tube and then the jet behind it. This here is a 105. I'm just going to double check. It indeed says 105. Just very gently turn this until it seats. You do not want to put any extra force. If you encounter force, back it out carefully and reattempt it. Make sure there's no debris in there or anything. So I'm just going to go finger tight on this. Make sure it's centered on the jet. Finger tight. And there we go. And also make sure your float operates freely without any binding. So I'm just going to use my finger and operate the float, and it should go up and down nice. And also center the pin for the float. You might not be able to see that on camera, but there's a pin that kind of slides back and forth. You want to keep that nice and centered. So now I'm ready to reassemble the bowl and put back the screw and start the machine up and see how it performs. I did put a mark here just so I have the correct orientation because that shroud has an opening in it, and I want to make sure that this fits in just the same way. That's the only reason why I did that. And if you can see there's a kind of a white film on here from the fuel buildup. So go ahead and clean that out while you're at it. It's a good idea to take care of that. Make sure the O-ring seal on the bottom here is in good condition and it's still in place, and you're good to go. There is a washer in the bottom of this screw here, so make sure that's still there. Otherwise, gas will leak out the bottom of your carb. All right, so now we can turn on the fuel. Make sure your drain valve here knob is closed. We can turn the fuel on, and we should be good to go. I did go ahead and drain out my sediment bowl here as well to make sure there's nothing in it. So that's always a good thing to check. make sure there's nothing in there, no debris buildup or whatever. And now let's go ahead and test the 105 jet and see what kind of results we get. Well guys, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or comments, please place them right down below. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.